All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. Been on delay, but obviously see the studio is done up. I hope you guys like it. Spent a lot of money, new camera, new everything. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good to meet you finally.
It is nice to meet you too.
This is the mighty Bree and Bree. Bree's fine.
Bree's fine.
Cool. Cheers. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks
by
for
the
having
way,
me.
these are waters. Sober here. So where are you from originally?
I grew up in Hawaii, in Honolulu. Yeah.
What brought you here to Utah?
I went to BYU.
Really?
Yes.
Dang. What's it like going to BYU?
It was not my favorite place.
No.
I felt just really out of my element. Grew up in the church back home, and I had the whole dad was bishop, mom
Yours too, huh?
was Relief Society president, like the whole thing. And when you have parents that are holding callings in the church like that, people know you, and you get accepted to BYU, like you don't say no to that.
Right.
So I think a lot of my life was kind of just doing things that I felt expected to do. So like I went to church with my family. I had to make them proud. So I went to BYU, whether I wanted to do these things or not. In my head, it's just like the thing that you do. And once I got to BYU, I had never felt so alone.
Really?
In my life.
Were you how did your parents come about being members of the church?
I know with my mom, the missionaries had converted her parents in Maui. So she was, I believe, born into the church. My dad, I'm not entirely sure what his family's tie is to the church because he wasn't baptized until he met my mom. But he met my mom at BYU, Hawaii. So somewhere along the line, either probably my grandfather got him in there. And some of his aunts and uncles were members of the church too. So.
Whoa. Dang. You didn't want to go to BYU, Hawaii?
Everybody asks me that.
That sounds really nice. That sounds really nice.
So I growing up in Honolulu, very much a city girl. And to us in Hawaii, like if you're a city girl going out to Laie, feels like it's so far away, and it feels like country because there's no mall, there's no shops, there's nothing. There at the time, I think there's more now, but at the time there was like a McDonald's, and that was it. That was the only thing of like city living that was out there. I wanted to go to University of Hawaii because that's where all my friends were going out of high school.
That seems nice.
But again, my mom was like, well, it's an opportunity. It's a really good opportunity. You can't say no to it.
I don't know. I feel like the mainland kind of sucks.
It was hard.
Is it hard growing up in Hawaii being landlocked like that? Or do you not even think about it?
You don't think about it. Because it just is. And people are always like, oh, you grew up in Hawaii. That's so cool. And in my mind, that's just where I grew up. It's just home. I don't see like that aspect of it. That's so fascinating.
Right. Yeah, I guess you wouldn't see it how like the mainland people would see it growing up. Like, dang, man, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Tropical this, tropical that. And when we get there, it's awesome. But for folks that live there, it's like, this is just every life. Day, bro.
Like,
dang. What nationality are your folks?
My mother is 100% Japanese.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Cool.
She's like third generation. So we're pretty Americanized. My dad is Korean, Japanese, and Okinawan, which Okinawan is technically Japanese too, but in Hawaii we make the distinction for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But they do have their own culture, their own language, and everything down there.
Whoa. Dang, was your dad originally from Korea?
No, he's also third generation.
Oh, okay.
So,
gotcha.
well, he's third generation on his mom's side, second on his dad's, I think. 'Cause I think his, no, I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
That's all right.
I think it's third, actually, on both of them.
Wow, that's quite a blend you got. That's cool.
Yeah.
You got like a lot of different nationalities, different cultures to grow up in from your parents.
And then on top of that, it's the Hawaii culture. So,
and you grew up in
it's
Hawaii
not
too.
specifically Japanese.
Right.
It's not specifically Korean. In Hawaii, it just kind of all blends together, and we have our own mixing and matching of the different ethnicities because that's how it was for the plantation workers. You just have a whole bunch of people from Asia, Filipino, Japanese, Chinese, and they just kind of learned how to live together and adopted different things from each other. So when you talk about like Chinese food or Japanese food, things like that, it's 100% different from anything you would find up here in the mainland.
Whoa. That's pretty cool. You have a very interesting life already.
Well, thank you.
That's pretty rad. I don't know. Growing up here, it's kind of boring. Like, grew up in a desert town, and all you do is try to fight the battle of not becoming a drug addict.
Yeah.
Because that's all that's available is drugs and nothing.
Yeah.
But
how did you get out here to Utah?
I finished up my schooling at, do you know where Loma Linda University is?
I do
Medical
not.
school. So I went there, and after that program I finished up, I was applying all the way up from Seattle all the way down just through the West Coast and kind of inland, and Utah just kept having offers and offers and offers. So from what I understand is getting techs out here for what I do and having like multiple licenses and things like that, it's kind of hard to come by.
Okay.
So there's always a shortage out here, and there's so much work still out here.
Wow.
And they're like, hey, I got like 3 offers, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna choose this one. So I took the U, and it sucks. So it was such a weird time in life because I got that job. I was out of school, kind of like you were. I came here all by myself, didn't know anybody, super like freaking out. And then COVID hit.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, you haven't been here that long then?
No, I've only been here, I think, a little over a year now, maybe 2 years.
Oh my goodness.
So the first year I was here, I was like, what's going on? And you've been at the University of Utah. Huge. New people. I met new people every day. And then it shut down. It was like a ghost town. And I was like, man, this is weird. And then I sat in my apartment for like 10 months.
Oh my goodness.
Couldn't do anything. Didn't really meet anything. I had some really nice coworkers that kind of kept me afloat, thank God. And that's how I ended up here.
Oh, wow.
And then I tried to go back to California. I spent 10 months at the U. I was done. That's when COVID was still at its height. I was like, I gotta get back home. I can't do this anymore. Being alone and going through this.
Yeah.
Mentally, it was, I thought that was it. I thought for sure I was going to check out. And so I made a dumb move. I went back to California, spent 2 weeks there. I was like, this is a bad idea. And then I came right back here. I got a job actually at one of the 3 offers I originally got. I interviewed with them again. And they're like, this is our offer. I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. This is at a standalone ER. I work by myself. I'm not in a hospital because I kept telling myself, I don't want to be in a hospital anymore. I'm tired of it. I've been in a hospital my whole life because I had a cleft lip and palate I was born with.
Okay.
So I had a lot of reconstruction surgeries, just literally in the hospital my entire life still. And I was like, I got to get out of the hospital setting. And then I finally found this place is perfect.
Oh, awesome.
So, but yeah, it was scary and probably scary for you coming from Hawaii, all your family, and then moving to Utah by yourself.
And at BYU.
At BYU.
I mean, a huge culture
campus.
shock.
Yeah, different folks up there.
I mean, I go from, there's Asians everywhere in Hawaii to there's like more than 5, but it felt like there were like 5 of us that existed in Provo.
For sure. Especially Provo, that's just all a bunch of white folks hanging out.
Well, and then my first roommate, she had been up at BYU for the summer term because BYU, and I don't know if it's still like this because this was 20 years ago, but if you didn't get initially accepted, you could come in and do like a summer term and then get accepted after that. So a lot of the girls on my floor had done that, and so they already knew each other. And so before I even get there, there's these cliques that are formed. So I didn't really jive with my roommate. We didn't really talk. We didn't really see each other. I had a really hard time making friends.
How do you think it's just because, I'm not trying to sound rude, but the way you look, or or is it just?
I've heard that from other people that I grew up with in Hawaii. They've run into that issue. I'd like to not believe that that's a factor.
Yeah,
but you never know.
Not. Right.
I mean, it's hard to say.
Dang, that's tough. So they just kind of you're just like, hey, and they're like, I gotta go.
I'm also really shy. Too.
Well, you're on here. You ain't too shy.
But back then, I was really shy, and it's almost, I think, you make friends through elementary school, through high school. And a lot of times for me, because we went to really small schools, a few of my friends were with me the whole time. And then you don't think about having to make new friends.
Right.
Because you haven't had to do that for years.
Yeah, I get you.
And so getting out there and like wanting to meet people, I don't know why I was so scared of it. But then I found the internet.
How old were you when you left Hawaii?
I was 18.
Oh, damn. I could see why that would be tough. Especially at 18, you're probably around some folks that are a little bit older, and they probably look at you like, you're young, you're 18. Like, I do it to younger people too. I'm like, okay, well, and then let's calm down.
Yes. And I had a boyfriend back home in Hawaii. But it was almost like I didn't have a boyfriend at the same time. Yeah. Because he was so far away. And so I've got, all these girls that are doing the Mormon thing, and they've got their boyfriends who are going to go on their missions, and they're going to wait, and then they're going to come home and get married. And I wasn't looking for one, so I wasn't, part of group dates or anything. And BYU's, that's actually pretty funny. That's where I stopped going to church. Oh. Because all of a sudden I realized too, I don't have to if I don't want to.
Freedom, right?
I'm not tied to mom and dad who are going to drive me to church and make me sit through all of it and then have to go home with them. If I don't want to go, I just won't go.
Yeah. Dang, same. I know when I first moved out, I was like, I don't have to go to church no more.
Right?
Woo-hoo. We are now, from what I understand, church service is only like an hour and you get to go home.
Yeah. I think a lot of it changed during COVID.
Yeah. It used to be like 3 or 4 hours.
It was 3 hours. Yeah. You had sacrament meeting.
Oh my God.
And then like Sunday school, and then whatever, like young men's or young women's. It was a whole thing. And I don't know how I did it for 18 years.
Yeah, same. But I know that put a lot of strain on, I don't know if you experienced this, but it put a lot of strain on our family because as we got older, we're like, hey, we're getting at the age where we would like to go out on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
And like do stuff and be outside. We couldn't even go outside.
Wow.
And mind you, we're starting to get like 18,
right,
15. We're starting to get a little opinion and like talk back. And my parents just not having it. And oh my God, I couldn't tell you how many arguments we got in, how many threats my parents told me. Well, then we'll just leave. Just get out of here. Or we'll send you to your aunt's. How's that sound? And we're like, all right, man, we'll be quiet.
So did your parents grow up in the church too?
My dad did. And then my mom, I think she did. She's kind of converted.
Okay.
Her mom, my grandma, was converted. So yeah, pretty much they grew up in it. But they were strict.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like it's okay to be religious, I feel. It took me a long time for me to even say that because it does work for some folks.
Right.
It really does. For me, I just always had these questions like, why do you believe in this dude? Like,
Yeah.
well, why? Why do you tell me why? And there's like, well, because he said so. I'm like, because he said so, but why?
Yeah.
Like, why him and not this guy or that guy? Like, and we just fought. We didn't talk for a couple years.
Oh, wow.
We were. Oh, I was just mad because I was lied to.
Yeah.
When you start figuring out what the Mormon religion really came from, you're just like, this doesn't seem okay.
And I will admit, I'm a little naive and ignorant when it comes to that because I think I purposely didn't want to dive into all of that. I didn't want to dig too deep into it. I know, I've heard from friends and I mean, everywhere what it's all about, and maybe this is kind of dumb, but I still have a respect for my parents and whether or not I am on board with what they believe or not. Like, I'm not going to bash the church because in a way I'm making my parents look like idiots.
Right. Same.
Which makes me sound like such a goody-goody, right? Like,
no.
I'm
it just
still like such a slave to mom and dad, but I know it's important to them.
Right.
So I guess part of this is just how we were brought up to respect everybody. We didn't talk back. Like, you talk back, you got lickings. Woo. Oh yeah, like it was.
Dang, fair enough.
So my mother just managed to instill that fear in us without ever having to really do anything about it.
Yeah.
And it could just be me. I don't know if my brother felt like that, but that's a lot of my mental health thing is I have this huge fear of letting people down or making people disappointed in me.
Same. Are you the middle kid?
I'm the oldest.
Oh, that sounds like a middle kid thing. That's what I suffer from too.
Well,
always like, man, I don't want to let people down. Always like, what do you need? But then I end up screwing myself over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was being oldest. So it's just me and my brother.
Okay.
Well, you're so good at this, or you've always excelled in school, or I hate saying this because I feel like I'm humble bragging.
Nah.
But I always managed to set the expectation for myself really high. And because I did that, even a step down from that in my mind was a disappointment.
Ooh.
It was like you bring home an A or you bring home a B after bringing home so many A's and the B is a disappointment.
Was that more personally to you or did your parents express that?
It was my mom.
Do you have are they traditional, very Asian parents when it comes to schooling?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it just, but because I was able to achieve all these things.
Sure. They had that expectation.
It's like, well, she's already done this.
Gotcha.
So why can't she just do that all the time?
Gotcha. Dang.
And I knew too that if I didn't achieve that all the time, then I was failing as a daughter or as a human or whatever it was.
Whoa. Have you talked to her about that now that you're older?
It's come up kind of in a weird, passively aggressive roundabout way because we don't like to talk about stuff. We're for a while, through my 20s when I was really into partying and stuff, it was a very don't ask, don't tell relationship. They're not going to ask what I'm into. I'm not going to tell them what I'm into. We both know.
Yeah.
But we're just not going to touch it because it's going to be uncomfortable for both parties.
Dang.
But over the last few years, especially as I've gotten more into taking care of my mental health and focusing on important relationships and things like that, we've had more conversations about it. It's become a little bit easier to talk about and be open. And I've kind of just decided I'm going to tell mom what I tell mom and open that door. And that's just who I am. Yeah. I'm very blessed, though, that regardless of everything that I've done, after I left home, for as much disappointment as I felt like I had given them, they still accepted me and loved me through it. I know that there's stories of people in the church that the minute that they, want to step away and have their own life. They're disowned.
Oh, yeah.
Their parents, just completely cut them off. And through everything, my parents have always just been like, be careful. We love you. We don't agree with what you're doing, but we can't stop you either. But we're not going to just leave you.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard those stories too growing up. Like, so-and-so did this, and now they don't.
Yeah.
Their parents want nothing to do with them. Like, over that?
Yeah.
Just because they didn't I don't want to go on a mission. Well, then you can't be a part of this family. It's like, huh?
Right.
This is very counterintuitive what you guys believe.
That's absolutely not what the church teaches. I'm pretty sure nowhere does it say, if your kid wants to do this, they can't be your kid anymore.
Right. Yep. I know. My older brother experienced that. They were tough on him. He was the oldest, and he was a lot like you. Had a lot of pressure put on him and a lot of expectations. I would hate to be the oldest. I feel like the oldest is probably the roughest place to be.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You're the one that's supposed to take care of everything.
There's a lot of expectations. You set the bar. Like, look at what your older brher did. Look what your older sister did.
And you know what? I do feel bad for my brother for that, because he got a lot of, oh, you're Brianne's brother. Oh, he was identified. We went to the same high school, and that's how all the teachers saw him. Was, oh, you're Brianne's brother.
Yeah.
He wasn't ever himself, and I think it helped him a lot when I left. We went to a small high school. When I graduated, there were 144 students total between 9th and 12th grade. There were 36 in my graduating class.
That's it? 36?
Yeah. So, wow. I mean, everybody knew everybody. Sure.
I mean, it's an island. Eventually, you're going to know.
Well, yeah. But also, I mean, you talk about other high schools. I mean,
sure. Yeah,
you've got hundreds of students graduating. Graduation ceremonies take like 3 hours just to get through names.
Yeah. Wow. Dang, that's tough. I didn't know you had experienced all that through the church, too, with your folks. What's your dad's take on it? Is he a little more?
Oh my gosh, I'm such a daddy's girl.
Hey,
it's
fair
awful.
enough. Fair enough.
Oh my goodness. I mean, he's always just been. He loves me.
Just
so
loves
much.
You.
I would probably it's far reach, murder somebody, and he'd be like, "Okay, we'll figure it out."
All right, we'll get you to.
All right, cool. Let's make a plan.
So he's a good dad then.
He's a great dad.
Yeah.
I've always been really close to him. Actually, so I had left BYU in the start of my spring semester.
Okay.
So I was there. So they do winter and spring, and then they have a summer.
Oh, that's nice.
So, I was there through winter. Broke up with my boyfriend right before Christmas, because with the internet, I brought that up earlier. I started chat rooms and meeting people and getting attention from other guys, and it was satisfying.
Sure.
So I was like, I don't want to be with my boyfriend for the rest of my life. I think I'm too young to make that decision right now.
Yeah.
And so I, after a few months, met this guy online, went and met him. We decided to I was basically at his house every day. I wasn't going to school. My parents thought I was still going to school. I was enrolled in all these classes.
Oh, okay.
And the plan was, after that spring semester, they were going to come up to Utah and help me put stuff in storage and help me pack up things to bring home for the summer. Well, a week before they come up, I'm living with this guy, and him and his friend are like, you got to tell them what's going on.
Okay.
Which was right. They were right in telling me that. So I call home, and I don't want to talk to mom.
Yeah.
I want dad. And they're out. My grandmother says they're out. And she's like, well, I'll have mom call you. I'm like, no, I do not want to talk
anything
to mom.
but her.
Dad needs to call me. So I remember that phone call so vividly. I said, Dad, I met a boy in Salt Lake, and I've dropped out of school, and I've been living with him, and I don't want to come home for the summer. And he's just silent. He doesn't say anything. And the first thing out of his mouth is, have you broken the law of chastity with this boy?
That's a weird thing for your dad to come out.
It is.
Right off the bat.
It's a very bishopy thing, though. If you know the church, I mean.
Yeah.
And me being me, I say, well, yes, but he's not the first.
Oh, and he's just like,
he's like, all right.
Dad, you there? You there? Do, do,
Yeah.
Oh boy. How did he respond to that?
You know, they're like, well, we're still going to come up. We'll figure it out. We'll talk about it when we get there. So they were up for about a week, and, you know, they had a hotel. So I stayed with them in the hotel and spent time with them. And this was a really interesting conversation I had with my mom, actually. She said, I can't support you in what you're doing. So if you decide to do this, you know, financially, we're done.
Oh, okay.
Okay, which makes sense.
And
It's like you're going to have to get a job if you want to live on your own and make these decisions, then you're going to do that. So, but I can't tell you no, because, so she grew up on Maui, and then BYU Hawaii is on Oahu. So she went there for her first semester of college.
Okay.
And she told my grandmother she didn't want to come home, that she wanted to stay on Oahu for the summer. My grandmother made her come home.
Well, Maui's just what, like
right it's just a hop. Yeah, it's. I mean,
I think it's like 45-minute flight.
30, 30 if that. Like by the time you reach altitude, you're already making your descent. Yeah. But she swore to herself that summer that when she had children, she wouldn't do that to them.
Oh.
And she kept that promise to herself.
Wow. Isn't that crazy? Like your mom went through that, then you went through that.
I know. And my mom being the strict one, and for her to have told me that story and said, well, you know, I
get it.
I can't make you do what I want you to do.
Whoa. That's wild. And then what happened? So you were 18, and then you spent a semester. Were you 19 when you met this dude?
I think 19? I had not turned 19 yet, but I would have turned 19.
Okay. And then not going to school anymore.
Mm-hmm. I got a job at Staples.
Okay. You got a job. Fair enough. And what was the big reason you didn't want to go to BYU anymore? Just like,
I think I just didn't want to go to school.
Yeah, it's hard at that age. It's tough to be committed.
And my first experience with college is a whole bunch of religion courses that are, you know, a part of the curriculum, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it just seemed like a waste. I had done so much. It felt like so much school, which is not more than the, you know, normal 18-year-old has done, going through high school and everything. But I had studied so hard for most of my life at that point. I had, you know, been all about academic achievements, and I think I didn't consciously make this choice, but I just was done with it.
Yeah. I think the world needs to be more aware of that for kids.
Right.
Because high school is a drag. Like, I hated high school.
Did you?
This is so dumb. It was such a big waste of time, because really you're just hanging out for 4 years. Mm-hmm. You feel like it feels like prison. You got, you know, you get to take your lunch, then be back in class here. And it's like, well, we're just setting people up for this weird thing that a lot of kids just don't want to do.
Yeah.
And it's not because they're lazy. It's because high school, there's nothing like, you get those few students who are like thriving and like, I'm going to this college, and that's what they want to do. Mm-hmm. But the majority of kids are just like, I don't know, man. Yeah. Like, most of them really want to learn trades or something fun. Like, because they're still in that mentality of like, I mean, we've been in school for this long, and you still want me to keep going?
Right.
At 18, when we're told we get to do whatever we want? I don't know. I just feel like culture-wise, we need to shift high school and make it more meaningful. Like, I feel high school should be where you do get your associates. Yeah. And then if you want to go to college, all right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think too, you know, I brought up I went to a tiny school. Yeah. Now all of a sudden back to feeling alone. Yeah. My teachers don't know who I am.
Yeah, they won't take the time to get to know you because of that campus.
Exactly. And I'm not going to class with anybody in my dorm necessarily. Like, we're not in the same classes together. Everyone's got a different schedule. It's just, it was so much. I bet. And then again, I didn't have someone looking over my shoulder telling me, you have to get that A, you have to do this, and it was so much harder work wise and study wise, you know. But yeah, I think I had burnout without even realizing I had burnout.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, plus you moved here by yourself. Like that's a huge thing for 18 with no family around.
It was a lot of transition.
Yeah.
With very little support. Not to say that my parents didn't support me, but there's a difference between someone actually physically being there with you to support you and then, you know, a phone call every week.
Yeah. Well, it's true. It's different too. Like they're not available to you either. You're like, I'm gonna go see what my parents have to say. No, not really. But you didn't even have like uncles or family, which makes it just like really, really difficult to kind of navigate without anybody like, no, go this way.
Right.
So yeah, I totally get that. So you're working at Staples, 19, not going to school no more. And then this dude, how old was this dude? Was he in school or
he
is
was
that
21? No, he was not in school. He was like a manager at a Fuddruckers.
Fuddruckers. I know what that is. Is that a restaurant?
It's a restaurant. It's like a hamburger restaurant.
Oh.
So no,
Exciting.
he was from Texas.
Hey.
Looking back, I don't know why. But I think we can say that about a lot of past relationships.
Oh, sure. Because you think it's a good thing to do at the moment.
But I think he was so different from boys that I grew up with, so different from my boyfriend. You know, he just, you know, I thought he was cute, and I was what I thought like in love. You know.
Yeah.
And he was a recovering alcoholic.
Oh.
So he introduced me to AA. I would go to a lot of AA meetings to like just support him. When really I think I was going there just to like be involved in his life and like watch what he's doing and see what he's up to.
Well, it gives you something to do too. Like,
also that. Well, and if it's such a big part of his life, you know, to be a supportive girlfriend, I should know what it's about, right?
Sure.
So that was very interesting. To get to be a part of that whole group too, almost like that whole culture of
different folks. Yeah, those AA folks are, man. Some of them are in it, and then some of them are like, I don't even know what to make.
Meetings are
intense,
like,
huh?
They are.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you hear some of these stories, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah, my younger brother, I would have to take him to his AA meetings because the court told him to. So I dropped him off, and then he would tell me what was going down. Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You guys are talking about what?
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild. But for some, it works.
No, it does.
It really works.
And I think that's for anything, right? When we talked about religion, if it works for you and it makes you a better human, then stick with it. If you found your thing that drives you to do good in the world, then hold on to that.
Yeah, definitely. So how long did that relationship go? And then you had I know we talked back and forth, you had your kind of dive with alcoholism too, right?
Yeah, so he's actually the one that bought me my first drink.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember
What's his name? Let's go get his ass. No, just kidding.
It was a glass of white Zinfandel.
I have no idea what that is.
Pink wine.
Pink wine. All right.
I was 20.
Okay. So a little underage drinking.
Uh-huh.
All right. We've all done it.
I might have even still been 19 now that I think about it. No, I had to have been 20. And it was at McGrath's Fish House at the Gateway, so a seafood restaurant.
Oh. Interesting. I don't know where that is.
It's not there anymore.
Oh, okay.
This is like how old it was. This is like, I think I dated it back to 2004.
Okay.
It's forever ago. And I was like, oh, this tastes pretty good. And then he's like, well, let's go get you more booze. And I don't know if part of it was like he got to drink vicariously through me.
Sure.
In a sense. So then I got introduced to wine coolers. So, good Bartles and James Fuzzy Navel, which I don't
Sure,
even know if they
yeah.
make those anymore, or
I
like
don't
some
even- yeah.
bottle of Boone's Farm.
Yeah,
or,
Boone's
like
Farm is
super
still
classy
around.
over here with the drinking. My first go, and I didn't do it a lot.
Sure.
We made a lot of frequent trips to Wendover, so I was doing a lot of gambling underage as
man.
well. But that's where I learned I can get drinks for free there too.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't a huge party thing because him and his friends didn't drink, but it was just kind of something I got introduced to it, and it was, it felt kind of neat to be buzzed. I don't think I ever really got super drunk with him. We were together for it would have almost been a year. And I broke that off. A kind of the similar thing with my high school boyfriend. I didn't want that for the rest of my life. I didn't want to make that decision that this is going to be the one for the rest of my life because I was 20.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm awful at starting because this hot guy at Staples would come in and
Ooh,
hit on me.
Staples
And then
guy.
he finally asked me out for coffee. And I was like, I can't. I have a boyfriend. I'm sorry. He's like, well, I'm sorry too. And I'm like, damn it.
And then when you guys broke up, did he walk in and then you guys went on that date?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So we had this tiny little apartment right across from Liberty Park.
Okay.
And he actually shacked up with a woman that moved in next door.
Oh, no.
So I had to see him every day still.
What?
And then
How awkward.
he knocked her up.
This dude is something.
So it was just a weird, I don't know how I was really upset, or it was just a weird situation to be in.
Yeah.
Not only is my ex-boyfriend living next door with some woman who was older that lived next door, but he's also knocked her up. I don't even understand. How does this happen?
Dang, I don't know how that happens, but it happened.
It did happen.
Yeah. Interesting. But it's so interesting that he, being a recovering alcoholic, knows exactly what alcohol can do and then go ahead and introduces it to you and buys it for you.
Yeah.
And, I would hate to be that one dude that introduced something and their lives just tanked.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's crazy that he would do that. And then what happened from there after all that?
Sorry, I need to use the bathroom.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Do you know where it is?
I do not.
So just go out this door.
Okay.
And then go around, in the kitchen, and you'll see the garage door, and it's to your left.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't know how to cut that.
Oh no, you're good. You gotta take your time. Well, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed it so far. We're still talking. We got a lot to talk about. Bree is a very, very great guest. I'm happy to have her. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Hope you guys enjoy the new studio for those watching it on the YouTube channel. And if you're listening to this, go check out the studio and the new setup. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, let me know what I could do better. And also, there is Erbe session merchandise available. It is linked on my YouTube channel. It'll be in the upper right-hand corner. You'll see it, a little circle, and it just says merch. I'm trying to make it easily available if people want to buy stuff that says that, looks like this backdrop here. So far, I only have coasters and stickers, but that's where you can find it. The website, it's a great website I share with a friend that does his own YouTube channel as well. It's called Pull Boys. Check that out. Really, really great stuff that he's doing. And I try to make something out of this. I hope you guys hope it turns out what I am thinking it should turn out to be. But also, you can find everything too if you don't have YouTube for some reason. You can't find anything that I'm talking about. You can go straight on the web and buy things, or you can go to on my IG account. It's linked as well, so you can buy it there. And yeah, hope you guys can support it where you can. Cool, and she's back. Welcome. I was just letting folks know where to buy stuff.
Nice.
So, all right. So, you're 19 now. Homeboys hooked up, neighbor next door.
Yes.
What happens after that? Where do you go from there?
So I'm still working at Staples, and I've made a bunch of friends. You know, we all hang out after work, and they all drink. And so I just start doing that. I turned 21. They took me out for my birthday, my 21st birthday. I went to a bar for the very first time, hanging out after work, grabbing some beers. I remember my first beer was disgusting. It was a bottle of Budweiser.
Oh, yeah, Budweiser is
But
garbage. It
it's just
still
like,
is.
It's just like what's there, you know, at
Sure.
these and all these guys are around my age too. They're, you know, between 21 and 24, and they're going to the U, and they're holding house parties, and
Yeah.
just kind of you fall into that scene. I think it's really easy to do.
Yep.
Once you
Once you
start
find
drinking and you find it, and then it's, well, that's what all my friends are doing. So I guess I do it too, you know, kind of like that same mentality I had with going to church. Well, that's what my parents do. That's what my family does. So I guess just follow along.
Do you feel like it was kind of coming, like some kind of like journey like that was, you know, I think a lot of people when they hit 21, that's kind of the road they head to. I know I did. I drank like whatever I can get my hands on, because it's like, finally, I'm not under anybody else.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like that at
Not
all?
necessarily. I think I was more just, you know, well, also you see it everywhere, right?
Yeah.
In movies and TV shows, and it just looks so normalized, but you're growing up in the church and you're told you're not supposed to do that. But I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Because if it's such a normalized thing that everybody in society does, like aside from, you know, learning in health class and in elementary school and stuff that like alcohol is bad because it's a depressant and it can lead to these things.
Yeah.
The irresponsibility of it and how it impairs, you know, like your driving and things like that. But it's also, well, if you are on top of it, then you can just do it for fun, right? Because everybody just does it for fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it gets out of hand.
It can very easily get out of hand.
When did it start getting out of hand for you?
I really don't know. I think it was falling into a crowd that just partied all the time.
Yeah.
And the more I drank, well, for anybody, the more you drink, the more your tolerance builds. And so to get that buzz, you have to drink more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And more and more and more until, I mean, there's no end to it.
Yeah.
And I was always drink fast, drink a lot. And I'm like that when I eat and everything else. I don't know why.
Okay, yeah. You just
like especially like if it was a cocktail that had a straw in it, like
done,
just
huh?
done.
one sip and done, huh?
Yeah.
Damn.
And then you start doing shots and you're doing all these things and it never, even into my 30s, it never clicked that you're gonna be able to drink and that it's gonna hit you all at once. Like you're not gonna feel drunk immediately after your first shot. But if you keep going back to back 10 shots, it's going to hit you and you're going to be a hot mess.
Yeah.
You're going to go from 0 to like obliterated within like a second. It's just going to switch.
What was the most you were drinking at one point? Like,
I don't even know because
could you
I
put
never
like
really
a 6
measured.
pack and then like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I dated a guy in my 20s that we would put down a bottle of vodka every night we were together.
Man.
And just straight vodka right out of the bottle and
the
chase
big
it.
Ones? The big
no,
handle?
not a handle.
Or the like
Just a normal. I don't know. There's a handle and then
like
was
the 750?
yes,
750
I don't even know.
milliliters?
Yes.
Ooh, that's still big. That's a lot.
Between two people, I mean, that's half a bottle of that, and we would drink that and chase it with whatever juice he had on hand. A lot of times it was Odwalla green juice.
Wow.
Which is gross.
Green juice, huh?
But I mean, just right out of the bottle. My ex-husband and I could put down a handle of Jameson in a weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that's impressive, but damn, that's...
I mean, we
the tolerance is insane.
Yeah, taking pictures of our glass recycle bin and posted it on Facebook of like, we're clearly a Jameson household, and it is just filled with handles and 750s.
Yikes.
Yep. I could put down a bottle of wine by myself.
Yeah, wine's not too hard to put down.
No.
It's pretty easy. But a bottle of Jameson, that's tough. Jameson's okay whiskey. I've had like some really great whiskey, and I was like, I couldn't imagine drinking all this in like one sitting. Like,
yeah,
and people do.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you're just partying and drinking and drinking and partying,
Mm-hmm.
and then, so you said you also got married. When did you meet him?
Oh, that was way after.
Later.
Yeah.
So where we're at now is like mid-20s.
Yes.
Drinking.
Yeah.
What's occurring during that time as well? Different job, meeting?
No, I stayed with Staples for 14 years.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. And in the mix, I did meet two of my best friends.
Okay.
Of course, we met at a bar.
Hey.
I was dating a bartender at the time.
Oh no. That's not good.
So he was a cath lab tech, and one of his best friends was an echo tech.
Mm-hmm.
And so I met her through him. She was going through a divorce at the time too, and they were like really hanging out. So I met her, and then through her I met my other friend. The three of us went to Regina Spektor
Don't know what
concert.
Oh, I don't know
actor,
what that is.
or a musician, and she's very acoustic, plays the piano.
Okay.
And it was at in the venue, which has been called so many different things. I don't even know if it's called that anymore. At one point was called Bricks, but it's over like west of the Gateway.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, we're there, and at the time, they would do basically free pour Long Island iced teas because they found a way to kind of work the system, because you know how the liquor laws are here.
Yeah.
But they would, measure out the main alcohol and then have all of these other alcohols listed as flavoring so they could free pour those. These huge ass Long Island iced teas that are like this big.
Yeah.
I go through at least two before the concert starts. So does Evelyn. We're fucking wasted.
Whoa.
I just said fucking, and I don't know if I can say that on your podcast.
Yeah, you can talk however you want.
And show starts, and about 20 minutes in, security comes up to me and Evelyn, and they're like, you guys need to leave because you're being too loud, and the artist has requested it. So Regina Spektor kicked us out of her concert.
We did it.
So we're
famous.
We're like, fine, fuck it. We go back to the bar and meet these two lovely ladies, this beautiful lesbian couple, and they just buy us great vodka shots for the rest of the concert.
Oh, no. Are you when you were drinking, were you a pretty mean drunk?
I was a fun
or
drunk for a good portion of it.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I was a fun drunk. Yeah. So I met a lot of people through drinking. Met a lot of people in bars. I think at that time too, Piper Down would do karaoke nights on Sundays, and one of my friends and I would always go down there, and there was a whole nother group of, we'd see the karaoke peoples on Sundays, and there was another, like, everybody got wasted on a Sunday. And I was hanging out with them and partying, and it just became a part of my life in how I had fun.
Yeah.
I couldn't go out and do something without having a drink in my hand.
Sure. Do you feel there was more behind your drinking? Like there's something you're battling? Some sort of form of depression or escaping?
Getting drunk is an escape.
Sure.
Through a lot of it, I didn't realize that it's what I needed.
Yeah.
Or that I was, doing it to try and escape. It wasn't until I had a bad breakup, and actually, what's funny? The timelines getting jumbled here a little bit. This is before I met all that the party crew.
Uh-huh.
I had a bad breakup, and I started day drinking wine, and I missed work.
Ooh, day drinking's bad.
Yeah, and it was just, I was so sad. It was the first time I can actually remember, like, sad drinking. Like using alcohol
like crying
as
as medication.
As a medication,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm drunk calling him and all this stuff. And he was also a recovering alcoholic. His sister worked up at uni, so they drove me up to uni, and I, drunk, lied my way through. No, I'm not suicidal. No, I'm not this. I'm fine. I'll stop drinking, whatever. And so I get sent home. That was my first go at uni.
Oh, so they even took you up because they felt you were a danger to yourself.
Well, that happened later.
Okay.
I was in a really toxic relationship. And this is probably the start of my toxic relationships, which I then decided I needed to be in a toxic relationship every time.
Yeah.
And there's just a whole bunch of stuff going on. But with this guy, I mean, he had a way of making me feel so bad and sometimes making me feel scarred. And I pushed his buttons to it. It's not one-sided. Any of my relationships, all of the things that happen, I own my part in it too.
Sure.
But it was after his sister's wedding, and we were at my house, and his like half sister was staying at our house, and all he wanted to do was like talk to her, and I wasn't getting attention. So I am already super drunk because we were at the wedding all day.
Yeah.
And to get attention, I decide I'm gonna swallow a bottle of Benadryl.
Oh no.
And then drink some more. And tell him that I did it, and tell him that I'm going to die.
Yeah.
It's that a nurse friend that told me Benadryl overdoses are one of the most difficult overdoses to bring someone back from.
Yeah, there's a lot in that medication that suppresses, I forget what it is, but it shallows your breathing too.
Yeah.
And that's the danger of it. It
So
just slows you down.
So I OD on Benadryl, and I'm
goodness.
beyond belief. And
Sure.
thankfully they call paramedics and get taken to the hospital, and
Did
whole
they hit
thing.
you with charcoal?
I'm sure they did. I'm pretty sure they did. I
You
don't
don't
remember
recall?
anything.
Oh, gotcha.
I was told I seized in the ambulance. I don't remember any of it. I remember waking up with a huge like bite in my lip because that happened during the seizure. So I'm in the ICU. They get me through it. They, move me out on the recovery floor, and doctor comes in. He's like, so we're going to move you to uni once a bed opens up. I'm like, the fuck you are. I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Uni is, remind me what that's the...
It's the Utah Neurological Institute, and it's called something else now. They've renamed it to like the Huntsman Mental Health Institute, I think.
Okay.
So he says, we're going to do it. And I'm like, no. And he says, well, then we're going to have to put you in jail. Oh. And I'm like, what? Because I guess suicide's illegal in Utah.
Really?
And I'm thinking, how are those the options?
I think that's actually, I think California has the same law. It's illegal to do that. Wow. Okay.
So I'm in uni. My whole thing is I'm going to get out as soon as I can.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be here. I'll just do what I have to do. I was really good at people pleasing, right? Sure. I can say what I need to say and do what I need to do, and I'll be out. Yeah. 4 days I was out.
Gotcha.
Couldn't tell you anything except for we colored a lot of stuff because that was how you pass the time is they print out these coloring sheets and you can just color the whole time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And did they have like group or anything?
Oh yeah, there were
the
group sessions, and you had an individual session with a psychiatrist and a social worker, and they figured out where to place you, and they refer you to an outpatient therapist and everything. So like I'll go through the motions, I'll do all this stuff because at this point I don't think I have a problem.
Yeah.
Tried to commit suicide, but it's fine. It was just one night. I made a stupid decision.
Yeah.
It won't happen again.
Did your folks ever hear about that? Did they ever?
They knew I was in uni. My brother was at PBYU at the time, and he actually came and visited me.
Okay.
My dad would call me, and he said on one of the conversations that mom's afraid to call because she thinks this is all her fault.
Huh. Wonder why she would think that.
Make it about her.
Yeah. Sounds like my mom.
Like a self-realization that all of the pressure that she put on me. Maybe, I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing of like, so she can't get over herself to call me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But, whatever.
Yeah, parents have their
things.
thing.
And you don't see it until you're an adult and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, I start to see where my parents come from more and more as I'm older. I'm like, oh, that's where they got that from.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, that's why I'm like that.
Yeah. As much as I don't want to be like my dad.
They passed it down to me. I have those moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so much my mother's daughter.
Yeah, so my older brother's like, dude, you're just like dad. You're just like that fool. I was like, I know. I don't fight it anymore. He's not a bad guy. He's a really great dad.
Yeah.
When my mom's not around. Yeah, but that's not about me.
Yeah.
So when you got out, what was the next step for you?
I went right back into partying and drinking because I didn't think there was anything wrong. It wasn't a wake-up call for me at that time. I thought, I'm just going to live my life.
Yeah.
They want to think I have depression or whatever. Whatever. Everyone's depressed. Yeah. Everyone has issues. Drinking makes me feel better.
Right.
And again, it's what all my friends are doing. It's it's like passive peer pressure. Or it's like peer pressure I put on myself.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they're going to not think I'm cool.
Yeah.
If I'm not drinking. Now, no one ever told me that. I just assumed that.
Yeah.
Just like, all the times that I thought I was a disappointment to my mother. She never came out and told me I was a disappointment. I just assumed that's what she thought.
So there's a lot of, I don't want to say childhood trauma, but there's a lot of like psychological behind it. And I guess the drinking started to like kind of show what was really going on.
And then that's how I was meeting more people.
Yeah.
No, I'm single because I break up with that guy. And now I'm meeting people in bars.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting people
Feel
everywhere
good, you're
I go.
happy,
And I'm dating these
partying.
guys.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
People think I'm fun when I'm drinking.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Dang. So where was your next step after you're out? Did you go back to work?
I was back at work. At this time, I would have been an assistant manager with the company. I'm moving up at work, so I'm still on paper thinking like I'm fine.
Sure.
I'm still achieving what I need to do at work. I'm responsible. I can control it. It's only on the weekends, this and this and this. I've been a hungover at work a couple times, but my job's so easy. I can do it hungover. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I meet this new guy at a bar, and I can't tell you how many times I probably should have been murdered for the amount of stupid decisions I've made, with just leaving bars with people.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we all had our moments for sure.
But I meet this guy and we start dating, and it's, he's a big partier too. He didn't grow up Mormon, so his parents are big partiers. And we live out the next 5 years of life. We didn't date for all of it, kind of off and on, but we were roommates for all of it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we were roommates, and then we dated, and then we broke up, but we were still roommates. So all of this is going on, and we're just partying every night. We're getting hammered every night. There's not a night that we don't drink.
Wow. What age does this put you at? Do you recall?
I would have been late 20s, probably around 28 to 31-ish.
Okay.
So I remember turning 30 when we were living out here in Midvale.
Okay. So you're 30 at this point and still going.
Still going. How's
your health doing? Is your liver, kidneys, did they ever do anything?
No.
Blood work?
No.
I've seen some people get at it probably younger than you have, and their liver is just done.
Yeah, I'm sure I've done damage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can't do it, though.
But
liver's a crazy strong organ. It does a lot every day. And if you give it enough time, it will recover.
It self-heals, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you can do liver transplants, and you can take pieces of liver from somebody and eat.
Right.
So.
But once it's what's it called? Corroded? Once it's hardened, it's done. You can't can't fix that part. But okay, you're still early 30s, your health, you can bounce back still fairly easy. And then, so you're 5 years with this fella. What happens after that 5 years? You guys break up, and
Well, so at the tail end of it, because we weren't together, and I was so in love with this guy, like sickeningly in love with this guy. I don't know why. Just for some reason, he had me on his hook. When we break up, I'm like, okay, we need to figure out how to be single. We need to figure out how to be okay with each other dating. He's going to introduce me to this guy because he works as a bartender. And this guy's a regular. And he's like, I want to introduce you to this guy. So he does. And we hit it off. And, you know, now with him, I'm introduced to not only a lot of alcohol, but a lot of drugs.
Ooh.
Because he is part of that EDM scene.
Oh, yeah. I used to be into that. I
know?
still love EDM, but
Yeah.
not like hardcore like some folks. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's,
yeah.
you know,
I get
he's
it. I get it.
met all these people that are like in their 20s and they're just getting high every night and going to shows and stuff. But I meet him and I'm like, okay, he likes me. He's not this guy. I'm going to just do it.
Yeah.
Let's just dive right into it. Turns into this whole thing where my ex starts dating a girl, and then I get super jealous when I'm drunk about that, and I scare her off. And then he gets super drunk because he's jealous about me dating this guy, and it just turns into this whole
boiling pot of badness.
Yeah. To the point where like I have to call the cops on him. He gets evicted, all this shit.
Whoa.
And now I'm stuck with rent by myself on this place. But I'm now with this new guy who we make the decision to live together because he's got a house out in West Jordan. So I end my lease and now I'm taken care of, right? Because I've got a guy with a house.
Yeah.
He's, you know,
Cha-ching.
he seems responsible. He's a single dad. He owns a home. He has a job, you know, all this stuff.
Okay.
And so this is the ex-husband.
Oh, so this is the one you end up marrying.
Yes.
Okay. And now, when you guys were dating, are you guys, before you even get married, are you still doing like drugs?
Oh, yeah.
On top of that?
We're partying. I kind of start pulling him out of that.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at him and he 3 years older than me, 4 years older than me. And so he's almost 40. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You know, like... Now, I was mainly out of possessiveness and jealousy because I don't want him hanging out with these half-naked 20-year-olds.
Sure. Yeah. That's all you
and
see.
And he's drunk and high, and who knows what the fuck he's going to do, unsupervised, drunk and high.
Sure.
But, you know, I tell him, like, you're a dad, it's this, we're trying to do our future. You can't keep going out to raves all night, not come home, or not tell me where you are, or leave your kids. And his kids are teenagers, like 13 and 15 at the time. So it's not like they were little kids, but still, I mean, what kind of example are you setting for them? And
they're watching.
I'm doing all this, saying all these things to him. So he kind of pulls out of that scene, but that doesn't stop our drinking. You know, we're not going out, but we'll stay in and get hammered. Man, and some nights it was great, and other nights it was not.
Yeah.
You know, because I started as I got older. I was either a fun drunk, or I was a fun drunk until I wasn't. A fun drunk.
Like fights and stuff like that? Like hitting? Did you guys ever like...
We never went blows.
Never went blows? That's good. Shoves?
No.
Okay, good.
It never got violent.
That's good.
It did with the guy right before him at one point. And this was early on, and I don't know why I didn't end it right when it happened. But I'd been through some physical abuse in relationships, some sexual assault. You know, I talk about how I shouldn't have been murdered. Well, you know, other things happen when you make choices to just go home with a stranger.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I remember one night we were drinking, we got into it, and he just chokes me out. And he says, I would have hit you too. I don't know what I said. I got lippy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Was he choking you out to, like, hold you back from doing something, or you
no,
just
I
had
just
enough?
said something that pissed him off.
Okay.
Next thing I know, his hand's on my neck, and he's just like, I would have hit you too.
Oh, boy.
And you think, like, someone who's insecure, talk about victim blaming. Yeah, I already felt like in every single one of those situations, I, of course, deserved it. And that one, I deserved that because I got lippy. So he had every right to fight back however he decided to. And if I hadn't have gotten lippy, this wouldn't have happened. We got on a huge tangent there.
It's just, it's wild that you think that, oh, well, I did it, so I deserve it like that. You know?
And it goes back to, we're always going to dial back to that people-pleasing thing.
Yeah.
If I do something wrong that is no longer pleasing to the opposite party, then any consequences, any negative consequences that come from that, it's my fault because I didn't do what I should have done.
Yeah. Damn. Man, that's wild. I mean, I've been through some rough relationships, but never to the point like what you're expressing here. So you're going down this wild path.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. Do you recall what kind of drugs you guys were doing on top of drinking? Was it just ecstasy and stuff like that? I think
it was that. I'm trying to think, because I was on antidepressants.
Okay.
Which I think they must have put me on after I got out of uni. So,
Zoloft?
No, it went through a mix of stuff. I did do Zoloft for a little bit, but they took me off that because it made me sick.
How did you feel in those antidepressants? I was on a run with those when I was younger. Boy, oh boy.
I honestly could not tell you everything that I've tried, that doctors have tried for me. I'm finally at a place where we found a really good mix. Okay. That's been working for me for about 3 years now. 4 years.
Good.
But I mean, I was going through all this, and that's the other part is I'm drinking. You're not supposed to drink.
No, not on those. That escalates. I'm
just like whatever. Like, what's it gonna do? So things like ecstasy, Molly. Is that the same thing? I don't even know what they're all freaking called. What's the other one? There's
same thing. Yeah. They just changed the name.
But
mushrooms.
They don't do anything for me.
Nothing.
Because my antidepressants are serotonin blockers.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Dang.
So then it's like, well, then let's try cocaine.
Oh no. You touched the devil's white powder, huh?
Oh yeah, and then it makes you feel like you have superpowers, and it doesn't matter how much you drink because you're just freaking flying. You're like in the zone.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long did that go on for with you guys? So you guys were together 5.
We'd have been together.
Not 5 years.
We were together for 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
3 years. Yeah.
And then you got married.
Yes. So about a year and a half in, we got married, but we all in all were together for 3 years.
Gotcha.
Right after we got married in October. That next May, after I think he's gotten all of the partying out of his system, despite the fact that we're getting drunk and high together every weekend. He goes out and stays out all night with some friends. I don't know where he is, and he leaves me, and I'm all fucked up. So he had some muscle relaxers for a back problem, and I downed a whole bunch of them, thinking maybe I won't wake up in the morning.
Oh man!
And so I do. He's home, and some of the shit that I do, I'm like, oh my God. I'm getting ready for work, and I say, by the way, I took a bunch of your muscle relaxers last night thinking that they would kill me, and they didn't.
Wow.
And he's like, you're not going to work. We need to figure this out. So he calls my job and explains to them what's happening. And he's like, you need to get in to see a therapist and this and this and this and this. So we find some random counselor off a list of in-network providers on his insurance. And that goes awful.
Oh, really?
Because I'm being defiant. I'm being defensive, and I'm just like, fuck you. Yeah. She actually tells me that I'm crazy, which no therapist should probably tell a patient. And she says, you have to take her to the hospital. You have to. So we leave, and I don't even know if I was drunk. I can't remember. I was flying off the rails though.
Yeah.
I was
Those
just
pills
in
probably
this
kicked
state.
in. Yeah.
And he's like, I'm taking you to the hospital. I'm like, no. He's like, I'm going to. And this is so funny. So, is it Intermountain in West Jordan is like right there. And I'm like, don't take me there. He's like, why? Because I don't want to go to Valley Mental Health. Take me to the U. I want to go to uni.
Oh,
when I
boy.
don't even want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so they hold me in, the room in the ER. They've got this guy coming in and out talking to me about my situation, that I'm definitely going to uni once they get a bed open. This guy was really, really awesome though, because he'd done this up just for himself, for other patients, but he explained therapist shopping to me. And he had a whole list of like things that you should think about when you're looking for a therapist, and kind of had me look at therapy a little bit differently.
Okay.
And finding the right fit.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a weird thing to be like going through as I'm waiting for them to tell me a bed's opened up in uni. Because at one point I was like, you're not going to let me, I can't get in unless there's a bed. He's like, I'm going to get you a bed. I was like, oh, you don't even know.
Oh, yeah?
So the animal shows up, I get whisked away to uni.
Gotcha.
But for some reason, this time, it sets in that I don't want to have to do this again.
So finally
and I don't know how. But I was there for 9 days.
Oh, wow.
So they put you in like really high security ward at first. Make sure that you're not a danger to yourself or others. And then you kind of graduate out of that into less restrictive floors. I made a lot of really good friends there that time.
Gotcha.
And their program was, I don't know if it's that they changed their program so much, or I was in the right mindset. I'm sure it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
But it got me really thinking about what I was going through, why I did what I did, what I was feeling, what I wanted out of this. I was able to actually connect with people that went through the exact same things I did, that thought the exact same way I did. And for some reason this time around, I didn't feel like I was there as a punishment.
Yeah.
I saw it as an opportunity. And maybe it's because, I'm in my 30s now and I'm a wife and I'm a stepmom, or who knows what changed it. But I get discharged and I've got my therapist set up. And with work, I went on a leave of absence for about 3 months. So I have all this time to do therapy and work on myself and do all these things.
Yeah.
I'm also not with Staples anymore.
Okay.
They closed my store, so I got let go of. Which was fine, because then I got severance, which was great. Yeah. And Staples was basically killing me at that point. It was driving me to drink a lot because it became really high stress.
Oh, okay.
But this new company, was really great at getting my FMLA worked out and my short-term disability worked out, whatever I needed.
Yeah.
But I'm going through therapy, and this therapist, like, day one, I click with her.
Yeah.
And she's explaining to me, what she normally sees with patients. She's like, you're on that mental health high because uni was a great experience. Now you want to get better, and so you're here. But it's not going to stay there. There's always a point where it just is going to crash.
Where you're going to have to meet.
You're going to lose. Yeah.
What you've been running from.
Exactly. And she's like, but I'm here to help you through all of it. So I'm going to therapy every week and gearing myself up to go back to work. And talking with my therapist, she's like, we probably really need to address the drinking. And also my ex-husband had thought about separation at that point too.
Gotcha.
But he decided to stay in it because he didn't want to leave me alone, I guess. So we were going through couples therapy to cope with what had happened between us. And then I'm going to individual therapy. So one of my friends moves back and she's like, I really want to stop drinking. And I'm like, okay, I need to too. Let's do this together.
Yeah.
And we found this app called I Am Sober that actually helps you track like how much money you would have spent on alcohol and how many days you've been sober and things like that. So we're working with this app together. It's awesome. We're doing it together. Weekend hits. Cool. The first weekend hits, we get drunk.
Oh, I thought I was about to hear like a hoorah story.
No.
We get hammered.
We do. And then we're like, okay, we'll reset. And she just got another relationship. So now she's dating and she's drinking like every other night. And she's like, yeah, I just don't know if it's the right time for me. And I'm like, well, I'm going to see what I can do. You know, I'm on new meds, not thinking that through. But I'm like, oh, I really need to stop doing this if I want all of this to work. So I go another week and a half. And then I really want a glass of wine. Yeah. And since I drank one glass of wine at dinner, I might as well just get hammered because I already broke my streak.
Oh, no. So the mentality there is I still messed up, so might as well
I might as well just steer into the skid, right?
Right.
If I've already messed up, I'm not going to make it worse by drinking more tonight.
Yeah.
So I spent like 5 months of stopping. But I got sick after like 1 or 2 drinks every time, which I'd never had that before. But I thought I'll just power through and I can still, drink. I can drink socially. I can drink responsibly.
Sure.
It wasn't until, so my sober date is October 12th, 2019. And I was in Vegas with my friend that started me on the not drinking thing, that was still drinking.
Gotcha.
And we went to go meet another friend who had gotten sober about 6 months before I did, I think. To do one of those mud girl races.
Okay.
Like we're like, we're BFFs, we're gonna do this. And it's in Vegas. So when you sign in,
they give you a beer, don't they?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. I heard they're
like,
really
here's
weird.
a ticket for a free beer.
Yeah. Yep. I never understood that, like that Tough Mudder stuff, and then afterwards there's like beer, pizza. Yeah. It's like, okay.
So I'm like, it's
Makes
free.
No sense.
I might as well,
Sure.
Lisa and I will have one before we go, and it'll be fine. And I throw up halfway through the race.
Oh, so something's going on.
Yes.
Okay.
And at this time, my husband and I are trying for a baby too, so I get worried that maybe I'm pregnant.
Oh, and drinking on top of that don't help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that was when I was like, I cannot anymore. And I think what really put the nail in the coffin was my husband. We got back into town, and I'm like, let's do this when I get home. Let's go out and have dinner and whatever. That was the plan. But he's in a pool league at the time, and he's at the bar. He's supposed to come home after his rounds. Well, he stays there 2 hours past when we were going to go to dinner. He comes home lit.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, I'm so disheartened because we had a plan, and he, again, has chosen partying over
Did you start seeing yourself in him a little bit? Like
a little bit.
Gotcha.
That was the first night I was ever afraid of him physically.
Oh, boy.
Because he didn't understand why I was upset. I had no right to be upset. That I'm just controlling and I'm just nagging and all of these things. Mm-hmm. But this is also the next day. It's the first time that he blacked out. And he didn't remember anything that he did the night before. So I was able to have a talk with him. And we kind of came to terms and we started kind of figuring things out. So we, continued couples therapy and things like that. But we were getting high every weekend.
Oh.
So I wasn't drinking anymore.
What are you talking, like weed or something like that?
Coke.
Oh. So you're doing coke now.
I'm like being so open on something that's going to be on the internet.
Hey, some people need to hear it. There's probably people dealing with things that are probably even more beyond what we're talking about and probably don't even feel like there's any hope coming back from it. So to have you sit here and open up and express it, it's pretty powerful, and I appreciate it greatly. Like I said, you can share whatever you want, and you don't have to share anything that you don't want to. So now we're not drinking, we're doing coke. Did you ever figure out why you were throwing up?
No.
You just
It had to have, looking back, it had to have just been the change in meds.
Yeah.
And by some, like, just for my health, now to where I'm at, it just by some, I hate to say miracle, but something was like, my body was like, we got to tell her to stop.
Yeah, your body's pretty smart at doing that for you.
So let's figure out a way to make her stop. We know she hates throwing up. So
Yeah. We'll push the throw up button for a
yeah,
little bit.
every time.
Maybe she'll get the hint.
So it's right before my birthday. And despite the drug use, you know, I'm pretty level-headed now, because I'm not drinking, and he's still drinking. You know, he thinks I judge him for it, or I, you know, whatever. And the whole time in my head too. And I had this thought when I got out of uni, and maybe this is why I kept trying to drink or kept trying to do things that were still part of our old lifestyle, was, what if he doesn't love this version of me? And then looking back at all my other relationships, what if they don't love the healthy version of me?
Yeah.
And I don't know who that is either. But we met under circumstances where I was fucked up.
Right.
And then I'm no longer fun anymore. Or I'm no longer, you know, at their mercy where they can manipulate me or whatever it is. I'm not trying to like make myself out to be like a victim, but it's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
When you start to get sober and you start focusing on yourself and the mental health thing kicks in. So it's a weekend before my birthday. This is right after the COVID surge. This is 2020.
Okay.
And, you know, we're doing our thing and he decides he wants to go to his friend's house. And I throw this big fit. I'm like, why? Da, da, da. And we have this huge fight about it.
Like, eat a Snickers, fool.
I just didn't want him to go. I wanted to control him so bad. And I'm pretty sure his friend convinced him to do this. But the next day he comes home, he doesn't want to talk to me. And it's my fucking birthday. He doesn't want to talk to me. So I'm like texting him at work and he tells me he's thinking divorce. So I tell work I got to go because Darren just asked me for a divorce. And he was sticking to it.
Yeah. Did he ever tell you why he wanted a divorce?
He told me at one point that we had problems from the get-go, but he thought that if he married me, they would eventually go away. And in the year and a half we were married, they hadn't yet. So that's my birthday.
Yeah. Fun.
And then 2 days later, that whole earthquake happens here.
Oh, yeah. I remember that earthquake. It hadn't had an earthquake here in like some crazy 20 years or something like that. Yeah. What a dumbass. What a shitty year.
It was, oh my God. It was.
I hate that year.
I do too. It was not a good year. And
so you're dealing with that on your birthday.
I had therapy too that day. So I go to therapy and I'm just like a mess. It just happens and I'm telling my therapist all about it. And she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, everything that I thought of, I thought he wasn't going to love me anymore. He doesn't love me anymore, but I'm not super like all these things, you know?
Yeah.
So originally my plan was to move back home because I didn't know what I was going to do. Okay. I can't live at that house anymore.
Yeah.
My friend takes me in, thankfully. So I have a place to stay with her.
Nice.
And it just all kind of, I figured out there was no changing his mind.
Yeah.
It was really crappy. I never fully broke down about it except for that first day right after he told me. Yeah. Which I was telling my therapist, like, that just seems weird. I'm waiting for the other shoe. I'm waiting for the big meltdown where I start drinking and I'm just right back to where I started and all of this.
And even what a great excuse to start drinking. Right. Some people wait. Like my younger brother is like that with his issues with heroin and everything. And he would just, I would constantly talk him through it and he'd be good for a minute. But anytime one little thing didn't go his way, I got an excuse.
Exactly.
Here
you
it
start
comes.
looking for excuses.
Yeah, and he would find them.
Yeah, I had a hard day at work. I deserve to get drunk tonight.
Yep.
This happened. I'm going to just, erase it from my mind. Whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm moving with my friend. I'm still working on getting stuff out of our house. And so, you asked about if he ever told me why. He told me why when I asked him. And one of the times I was there to grab stuff, he told me what he said, that he thought it was going to go better, or that it was, he didn't really want to get married in the first place.
Huh.
But he thought that if he did, things would change.
Yeah.
And I didn't start a fight, but I stood my ground and defended myself. And I said, how dare you do that to me?
Yeah.
How dare you put me through all of this when you didn't even want to be in it? You lied to me the entire 3 years we were together.
Yeah.
You didn't want this. Why would you string me along to have it only to end it like this? That's fucked up.
Yeah, I would say so.
You had so many opportunities in couples therapy to bring up whatever was going on with you, whatever you felt like was going on with us, and you sat there every session and said everything was fine, or everything was getting better. But instead, you decided to just drop this ball on me.
Yeah.
So, but it was a pretty vindicating feeling to do that. And this whole time, I stay sober.
Good for you. I'm sure that showed you that you had it in yourself. Like, oh, I can be sober.
I can.
I got it.
I can self-heal. I can, there's other ways to cope with negative experience or negative emotion or whatever it is. And also, at this point, it's a lot of things that went together.
Yeah.
I've been going to therapy for almost a year, and I'm really focused on that because I like my therapist, and we're figuring things out, and I'm starting to understand more about my own mental health and watching triggers and understanding who I am and getting a clearer read on what my diagnosis is and figuring out ways to manage that.
Yeah. Did you ever get a full diagnosis of what?
So I suffer from severe depression, generalized anxiety disorder with borderline personality disorder tendencies.
Okay. That's a whole lot to give at you.
It's a lot of stuff.
We're almost on the same boat. I didn't know, and I'm glad you bring up mental health, not because it's the cool thing to do now. I feel like so many people just use it as an excuse for so much. And I know when I, kind of the same boat you, I'm going all this madness in my life, crazy ups and downs. I would go in and out of therapy, not really get anywhere. And then finally, when I was in my medical school where I went, they're like, if you need testing, if you need prolonged hour, we're gonna need a diagnosis of what you got going on. I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, well, where do I get that? And luckily, they gave us really great insurance. And I'm like, all right, it's free?
Yeah.
Cool. So I go and I do this testing for 2 or 3 days, and I do all this testing. And then the guy calls me. He's like, all right, let's sit down. And I'm sitting in this room alone. Got no one there. He's like, this is what you got going on. He's like, you got major depression disorder with manic episodes, with mania. I was like, well, what's that? He's like, you have manic episodes and you don't even know that you have it,
manic.
that you're manic. I was like, well, can you explain that? He's like, have you ever had a moment where you're all of a sudden you can't focus and you're doing things that you shouldn't do, but you're so focused on it. But when someone watches you, it's like, why are you doing that? That's really not. I was like, I don't think so. And I went home and I cried. I was like, I'm not like this.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. The depression part for sure. I've always had it. And then I finally saw myself have the manic episode when I quit my job at the U. I left my apartment. I spent all this money getting back home, and nobody is stopping me.
Oh.
They're watching me do it because they're being supportive, and I'm not putting it on them, but they're like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
But my brother didn't say anything, and nobody said anything because they're like, we got to be supportive for us. And then I sit. I finally realized when I get to my friend's house, he lets me live in his house for free, which I still appreciate. But it's a little add-on room in the garage, nothing special. And I don't have anything but my clothes. And I'm sleeping and I'm laying in my bed. I'm like, this is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And, you know, I the breaking point was sitting in that room. I was like, I went from having a job, having my own place, to back in the high desert where it's nothing but meth heads, and I'm in a little garage room.
Yeah.
What am I doing? And then that was finally it. So now I see where you're coming from. Like, once you finally realize what it is and you see it for the first time, you go, now I tell people, if I ever do this again, fucking stop me, because it will happen again. I don't know when, but if I start doing some weird shit where you're like, what are you doing? You need to
call it out.
Call it out, because I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
And I'll disappear. Like, I disappeared from everybody.
Yeah.
They're like, where the fuck? Where's this guy going? And it's scary because you can't stop it.
No.
I couldn't stop it.
And when you're in the middle of it, you don't even
you don't think.
like, this is what I'm doing, as irrational as it may be.
Yeah.
I've made up my mind.
Yep.
It's funny you brought up telling your friends, like, if you see this happen again, you need to stop me. You need to do something. One of the things that uni did was, when you're getting ready to discharge, they have you write out like almost like an emergency sheet for the ones close to you, so that they can know the warning signs and that they can step in when they need to. And it's a really cool worksheet. So it's, it's like, I need help when I behave this way.
Yeah.
Things that I need said to me when I'm behaving this way are this.
Oh, that's smart.
And it's a really neat worksheet to have. So I think it's important, like what you did, to tell your friends, watch out for this.
Yeah.
I'm asking you to step in here. I think more people should think about that stuff too, having a plan.
Yeah.
And really getting a team. That's important. That's what I found out was important this last time around with the mental health thing, is having a team that's on board with helping me and supporting me in the ways that I need to. Not just a, oh yeah, I'm here for you kind of.
Yeah, hang in there.
Yeah. You got this. It'll get better, you know.
Yeah.
But people that are really invested in your well-being makes a huge difference. And it makes it so much easier to do things that are right for you.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty wild. Has there been any other in your family with mental issues that no one has ever talked about or brought up?
Growing up Asian, you don't talk about it.
Yeah, I know they don't talk about it. That's very weird, and for them it's taboo.
You don't want to burden somebody with your own problems. It's rude.
Yeah, but have you seen the death forest in Japan? That's poor people that could have been helped, but they go take their lives out in the forest because of,
Yep.
It's heartbreaking.
There's no other way. It just, my dad has come out and said that he thinks he's depressed, but he doesn't know how to get help, and I've encouraged him to. But I think it's a generational thing too.
Yeah,
because here we are, 2022, still trying to fight the stigma around mental health.
Yeah,
like our parents were brought up in the height of the stigma around mental health, of you have to just power through it. You have to be stronger. You have to fight it, because it's not a real thing. It's just in your head.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the hardest things about it too, to get people to understand. And it is very easy once you're aware of it to see the people who get it and the people that don't.
Yeah.
But to convince the people that don't, that you are sick.
Yeah. That
you do need help. That, some days you try and show up every day, but some days you can't.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of that at work. So like, I've got days where my doctor's actually written out that, I'm prone to suffer episodes. And if that happens, I'm incapable of doing my job. My coworkers, obviously they don't know that because they have no reason to or right to. But, there are days that I miss work, and in their minds it's, oh, she's just, going through a thing. She just needs to get over it.
Yeah. I think what you were saying earlier, I think a lot of people don't want to bring it up because, like you said, nobody wants to be called crazy.
No.
And I think that's why a lot of people just don't say it. Because I know if that doctor would be like, you're kind of crazy, I'm like, who are you, bro?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be a different story. But I know I'm a little like, I have my moments, but I don't like to think they're crazy. It's just really weird when, like you said, like if you're not dealing with it and you're dealing with it and you start doing something like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
You know, it's really out of your control sometimes.
Yep.
And it's scary that like when I saw myself go through it, I'm like, who the fuck was that? Like, how did it get to that point? Who was that person doing that?
That escalated quickly.
Yeah. You know, I was like, I don't know who that was. That wasn't me. I'm not like that. And it's weird. It's like there's, you know, like you said, there's like another person that pops out once in a while. Like, oh shit, there he is.
I will say,
You know?
since I've stopped drinking, I see that person less and less.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, kind of same here. The more I know when I was younger, I had a drink, but it never really got out of control. But it did cause a lot of like issues, like mental breakdowns and, you know, going to work not in the greatest.
Yeah.
And I remember one job I had, it was when I was a phlebotomist, I went to work hammered.
Yeah.
And luckily, one of the ladies there who I still talk to, who I consider a mother, she's like, you need to just go lay down. I'll come get you if we need you. And luckily, she didn't say anything.
Very nice of her.
Yeah,
Holy
she could have been
shit.
like, this motherfucker's get him out of here.
Yeah.
But she knew I was going through a lot, kind of like what you went through when I was out of the house when I was 18. And you're trying to navigate the world without your parents really. They're like, well, you get out of here if you don't want to. And it's like, what do? So you start, I don't know, this makes me feel good. And it kind of spiraled for a while. And now I have a drink once in a while, but the moment I start to feel like, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, and that's good.
Usually it's just one nice whiskey, maybe once a week. And then
you're not drinking to get drunk. You're actually just drinking for the experience of I want to enjoy this.
I like the taste.
Exactly.
And I know it was a problem, but I'm able to like, all right, that, you know, my rule is I heard a great one. Somebody told me, if you have to work the next day, you shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah.
So that's
and
my
that's
rule.
a really great rule to live by. Honestly, it's responsible.
And that's what I live by. I was like, all right, I'm not drinking. I have work tomorrow. I'm not drinking. And it works.
I think to have the willpower and self-discipline to be able to do that is huge. Like, mad respect to you for being able
it took a while
to see that.
But that's good. The episodes are showing up less and less.
They are.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that there were times over the last year where I've missed, you know, a week of work because I just could not get myself out of bed.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to it either. That's the worst part with mental health is a lot of times I don't even know why. I just know that I can't.
Yeah. God, I know how you feel. There's a lot of days where I'm like, man, I really just don't want to go to work. Not because I'm lazy. I don't feel it.
It's just like, I don't know how and it's hard. It's becoming better.
That's good.
But it's still hard to not have drinking to fall back on. Also makes you try and find a lot of different healthier ways to cope. So I turn towards like exercise.
Good. Yeah, I see your Instagram always running in motion and on the trails. It started out really cool.
Really simple as I just started walking my dog.
Yeah.
Every day. And I had chubbed out when I got married. I did.
All that
but
drinking,
we were
you gotta
so
put on
unhealthy
some weight,
too.
right? Yeah.
So I think I came in at 160 was the heaviest I was. Then I started just walking my dog after work every day. 3 to 5 miles, just walking around the neighborhood. It was nice because we were in West Jordan, so you know, just easy to walk around those little
West Jordan's nice. One of those
little
ponds.
suburbs. And then I started dropping the weight.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I dropped 10 pounds, 20 pounds, and you know, I'm like, I look good. Fuck yeah, I look good. I need
looking good,
and I'm gonna prove that my ex-husband's a dumbass, and men still find me attractive.
Yeah, that's great fuel right there. Sometimes you need that feel like, fuck him, I'm a show
Yeah,
him. And
yeah.
you get to it.
And then in the midst of COVID, let's Tinder. Oh.
Yeah. And you met who you're with now, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Through Tinder. I will say it's hard to find things to do for first dates though when you don't drink.
Oh, there's always coffees.
And then like telling people like, oh yeah, by the way, and I would always bring that up when I connected with guys on the app, like, by the way, I don't drink.
Yeah.
Because then it gives them the choice of either like, okay, cool, or, well,
So I guess my question is, are you opposed to someone dating someone who does drink?
Not at all. And that's what they would ask. They're like, well, I do drink. And I said, that's fine. I just, want you to know that it's a decision I made for myself.
Awesome.
Then I met my boyfriend, and he's super into trail running and active lifestyle and all these things. And he,
Nice.
sticks to a really strict diet. And so drinking doesn't really fit into that. He drank a little bit, but he was just kind of in a time where he hadn't been drinking for a while.
Yeah.
And so, that was a perk. We're not drinking together, but we're doing all of these things. And he introduced me into hiking incredibly steep mountains that sometimes I look at it, I'm like, I don't know why I put myself through this.
I don't know why this fool thinks this is fun.
It started out as like, you first meet someone and you really like him and he wants to go do this thing.
Yeah,
so it's like, yeah, I can totally hang. And first few months, there were days that I wanted to throw rocks at him because I'm like, what the fuck did you get me into, man?
Yeah.
Like, we're basically climbing the side of a mountain right now. This is not hiking.
Yeah, yeah.
But I actually learned to enjoy it. It became this, it elevated the amount of physical activity I was doing. So I'm not just going to the gym. I'm not just walking my dog. I'm outside in nature.
Yeah.
Doing things and seeing things that not a lot of people get to do or see. And I'm pushing myself. And he, for as much as sometimes I really do want to throw rocks at him, he challenges me in like the perfect way. He's encouraging. And, when we first started, he didn't like take off. He stayed with me. And I know it probably drove him crazy because I was slow,
Yeah.
But no matter how slow I felt like I was, if he got a little bit ahead of me, he'd wait and he would always say, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Nice.
Just little teeny tiny words of encouragement,
Yeah.
And it's been a couple years now and I fucking love doing it.
Wow. You guys have been in a couple years now.
It'll be 2 years in June.
Hey.
So that was the other thing that was crazy is, I'm
super cool.
I'm just looking to date. I just got getting out of my marriage. I'm not even divorced yet. We're just separated. We're working on all of the court stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like not going to jump into anything. This is all just for fun.
Yeah.
And I'd never done that before. I've always been a relationship.
Right.
Relationship.
Yeah.
Then on a whim, I meet my boyfriend and it just clicks.
Damn. Ain't that cool?
It's really cool. And I didn't know it scared me at first. And I used to talk about this with my therapist a lot. I'm like, I don't know how to do a healthy relationship. I don't know what one looks like. I've never been in one. I am so ready to hit the self-sabotage button and fuck this all up because I don't think I deserve it.
Yeah, that's what we do best.
I know. It's
That's
just
what
like, oh my God.
best.
But anytime I'm irrational, he's just like, okay. And he's like the perfect balance for me because he's just like, okay, be irrational. And then like when you're chill, we'll talk again, you know? He doesn't get overworked about stuff. He doesn't create drama. And I've told him about some of my past experiences where, all the men I date just think I'm crazy. And he put a different perspective on it of like, maybe all the men you date made you crazy.
Yeah.
And then they could call you crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I learned that's gaslighting.
Yeah.
Or they made you feel that way to control you.
Yeah. Human beings do weird things to each other for, I don't know, really weird self-gratification.
It is weird. When you think about, people that just go out. And it seems like they're just on a mission to be horrible, grouchy, rude, bitchy people.
Yeah.
As I look at it and I think, every day we wake up, we have a choice, right? How am I going to be today? Am I going to be negative and just angry at the world for no reason, just for the sake of doing that, and then using it as an excuse to treat people poorly?
Yeah.
Or do I want to go into my day and actually enjoy it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I try to lean more towards the latter.
Yeah.
Well,
it sounds like you got a good set of what's the word I'm looking for? A good plan. You have good support. I think probably good support for the first time in your life. It sounds like. Sounds like the guy you met is just right on target with exactly what you needed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good that he encourages and not just like, come on, hurry up. You know, it seems, because that could be, this motherfucker always trying to rush me.
Well, then, it goes back to like, oh my gosh, he's going to break up with me because I'm too slow and I'm making him like upset, or I'm irritating him because he hates slow people on the trail. But I would be open about it. And I learned early on that what he says is what he means. Yeah. What he says is what he feels. I have no reason to say differently. And I used to do that in all my other relationships. Like, no, I'm not mad. Well, you seem mad.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Well, are you sure? Like, and then I would just poke and poke and poke. And then, obviously that would piss somebody off if someone was like, whatever. Yeah. But my ex-husband was really good at saying things were fine, obviously, and that things weren't fine.
Yeah. So you're still trying to undo that.
But
gotcha.
Just in getting to know him, he's not the type to do something he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
So every time that he invites me out on a hike, he wants me there.
Nice.
Yeah,
you guys look like you're having a blast. He
wants to keep me in his life. He truly wants to keep me in his life. So
yeah, you got the dog out there with you.
Now he does just take off.
Yeah,
which is fine. Because we've learned we've never had a fight. Yeah. Never, which is crazy. But we have learned that we get irritated with each other when we pay too much attention to what the other one is doing on a trail.
Yeah, I think that's a common thing in relationships in general. Yeah. I think if you're so you're focused on one thing too much, you start to get pissed off for no reason.
Yeah. Like, well, the way he does things is different from how I do things, and I don't think things through as much as he does. He's very meticulous, and he's been doing this for a long time, so he's very careful and very safe. And then I come in like a fucking banshee, and I'm just like gonna jump off this rock, not knowing if the other one will catch me. And he's like, "That's how you die." Yeah.
Yep. I had some friends at the U that were trail runners.
Yeah.
Yeah, they loved it. I'm like, what are you guys doing out there?
Yeah. So we decided that was the one thing. He's like, I'm just not going to watch you do stuff because I watch you do stuff and it makes you feel bad and whatever. So that's kind of why he started just leaving me on trails. So like,
it's because you got it now.
He's like, I'll see her at the top. He always waits for me at the top, or he'll run down and then go back up with me because he's a vert whore. He loves getting elevated. He's insane.
I would
He's
die.
like 10 to 20,000 feet every week.
Wow. So good for him.
Yeah, it's his thing. He found his thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to say great. Making it my thing, but through all this, helped. I mean, with that, fitness has become my thing. So, I do yoga every day. I do some sort of workout every day throughout the week. And then I do a combination of that with the hiking on the weekend.
Yeah.
So
do you do a little workout at work when you get a little like antsy? You have some weights there?
No.
Just get a quick pump?
No, I don't. No?
You should get some weights,
Work it's really busy. There's not a lot of downtime. And I'm constantly moving. Even when there's like nothing to do, I walk. Good. I pace.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And then of course I also have other skills I've practiced with, like how to de-escalate myself in a situation. So like when I'm feeling that anxiety, when someone's pushed my buttons too far or whatever, bout of social anxiety just hits, and then all of a sudden I forget how to human.
That's a good one. How to human.
Which is becoming more and more frequent, which not because of the anxiety. I think I'm just becoming dumber as I get older.
That's all I want to be, is super dumb when I'm old.
I sometimes I just like decide, well, I don't decide, but my body decides we're just not going to function today. Yeah. We're just going to be awkward and knock everything over and run into shit and just maybe you'll die, maybe you won't. I don't know. You know?
You'll be all right. You'll get through it.
But through therapy, and I did a lot of group therapy this past year too. My therapist actually started running a group for DBT, which is Dialectical Behavioral Therapy, which is one of the only ways to treat borderline personality disorder because there's no medication for it. It's a behavioral condition. So you have to learn different behaviors to cope with it. Wow. And so all of that has taught me a lot of ways to like look at things differently, look at situations differently, interact with people differently. Yeah. Stop and take the moment to decide what my next move is going to be to make the situation, you know, good for myself, but good for the other person or whatever it may be, establishing boundaries, all of those things. And it's helped me a lot with my interpersonal relationships at work where, you know, you don't always get along with your coworkers.
True.
Staples was the only place that I was like, oh, I'm going to hang out with my coworkers outside of work. And here I've created that boundary for myself where work is work.
Yeah.
I'm not there to make friends. I'm also not there to be rude to people.
Sure.
But I'm not obligated to tell these people everything about me.
Right.
I'm not obligated to see these people outside of work.
Yeah.
They get me for 40 hours a week. And then after that.
Yeah. That's what I tell my coworkers. I'm like, hey, don't call me.
Yeah.
Don't send me a text. Don't ask how I'm doing. I put in my days. These are my days off. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
If something comes up, you wait till I get back to work.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, all right.
Yeah. It just establishing boundaries at first when you're not used to doing it, it feels so rude.
Yeah, you feel like you're the total like jerk of the world.
Like, oh my gosh.
Hey, what's up
I'm
his
an
butt?
asshole.
But they need it because I feel like they're in the same boat when they're with their fam. Like some there were moments where like, hey, you got to call so-and-so. I'm like, hey, you know, it's their day off.
Yeah, exactly.
They're with their family probably. I'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And just because I expect the same kind of respect, like, it's his day off, man. Like,
yeah,
leave him alone.
And that's what I don't. My coworkers are not like that. We're so opposite of each other.
Yeah, it's hard to put that boundary between work because you're at work so much. And
you're at work more than you are outside of work.
Those people become your family, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
You know? And so, yeah, they have boundaries. They're probably a little like offsetting to them. Like
at first, they're like, "Well, how dare she like not just do what I asked her to do?" Or how I've learned that like I can't establish the boundary just because of the personalities that I work with. Of like, hey, what you're doing right now is triggering my anxiety. I need to ask you to stop.
Yeah. Because
they will turn it into, well, then I just don't know if I can ask you to do anything because what can you handle?
Jeez.
So, you know, and that's been difficult because it's like, okay, I just tried to establish a boundary and they didn't respond to it well. In fact, they made me feel worse about myself. So I guess I just have to be a doormat. Well, no, I don't.
Yeah.
But I can choose knowing what the outcome's going to be, what the response will be. I can now decide how I want to take on different responsibilities at my job and create a different pattern of how I do things so that they can see how I operate.
Yeah. Dang. I'm glad you're getting it all figured out. Do you feel like, I know I'm going to backtrack quite a bit.
That's fine.
Did you ever feel as a kid like there was something just a little like just off growing up? Like, man, I don't, because I look at my brothers and, you know, they seem perfectly, they're not perfect. No one is, but like, you know, they never had like the issues like I had. And I always like, why am I so like bummed out? And I'm not really like, I don't like to socialize too much as a kid.
Yeah.
And where my older and younger brothers social, like popular, and I always did things like weird and different, and And I always knew something was up. I just didn't know what it was. Did you ever feel like that?
Not growing up, but looking back. So in primary, I have very distinct memories of, like, you know, when they do primary sacrament meeting and you have to get up and read a scripture or something, and during rehearsal just bawling about having to get up and speak in public.
Yeah. I can't believe we had to do public speaking at like 9 years old.
Right.
I was up there giving talks. I'm like,
just
I don't want to do this shit. Why am I doing it? Why aren't the adults doing it?
But then still being forced to do it. Like, so I'm having this whole thing about it, and I really don't want to do it. And it's making me sad. Because at that, you know, when you're that age, it's all you know is it's making you feel sad and scared. But the grown-ups make you do it anyways.
Yep.
I always remember always getting so nervous about being called for talks or whatever. Because then again, a part of it too is like, what if what I say isn't what people want to hear?
Right.
What if no one likes my talk? What if they're judging me while I'm up there? What if I mess up? What if I do this? I think all of that, I'm sure, has created this.
Yeah. Well, I think as I get older, I look back at what my parents did, and a lot of it was not physical trauma, but mental trauma, like a lot of mental abuse. And I don't think they even knew they were creating it because I didn't know. But as I got older, I was like, damn, why do I feel so insecure? Why do I feel like not important? Why do, and I look at all the things that occurred through that growing up in that church. I was like, well, that's where it came from, you know?
And trauma is interesting. You know, we hear the word trauma and we always think of something drastic.
Yeah, like your leg fell off or something.
Yeah, or you're in a car wreck, or someone close to you, you know, dies, or I guess divorce, abuse. All those things are classified as trauma. Those are the only things that you think could be categorized as trauma or qualify to be trauma. What we don't realize is, like you talked about, emotional trauma when we're little. Yeah. And it could be something as simple as being told to do something that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And we all have to work through that differently. And I remember telling my mom about trauma, and traumas are different for everybody. There's no definition of it because it's all about how the individual feels, right? In the situation, or how they remember the situation. But the trauma is what builds us to become what we are and how we think and how we act. And the patterns that we develop are based off of those traumas. Yeah. And it was really eye-opening to me to learn that in therapy and then look back and see how all of these little, you know, and I'm fortunate that my traumas are these little things. Yeah. But they've created the mental health that I have.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think parents realize like what they're doing.
No.
Until it's too late.
And you want to, you know, for the most part, I think parents are doing what they think is best.
Yeah. Yeah. I see it now with my parents, what they went through. They kind of suffered from what they gave us, like they kind of into us, but not really into us. I mean, my dad's the oldest of 10.
Oh, wow.
And my mom's like the third youngest of 6.
Oh, my gosh.
So, like, there's a danger to having big families. Is one, you get lost in the mix, and two, you don't get the attention that you need. There's just too much to go around. And so, I don't think my parents knew how to quite give the attention that differently to each one. And I'm not being critical of them, but I kind of see where it comes from.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where they get it from. Like, it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And you know, it ruined all of their kids. They're all fucked up. My younger brother, we talk about him quite often because, you know, he's out of jail. He's in jail right now. But my parents were up here not too long ago, and my dad went and visited him. My mom didn't go because she makes it about herself. And I was like, did you ever ask him why he is the way he is? Like, why he does all this wild stuff? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, what did he say? He's like, he told me, he's like, I'd rather turn the world off than deal with it.
Wow.
I was like, well, where did that come from?
Yeah.
What happened? was like, did he get like molested? Did something happen?
Yeah.
He's like, no, I don't. I was like, something went down. So I thought about it more and more. And I think what happened, which I'm pretty sure what it is, he was kicked out when he was 17.
Okay.
Because he was not obeying the way of the church and just giving my parents a run for their money like every teenager does, which my parents realized later that's what teenagers do.
Yeah.
But their way of dealing with it was like, well, just you're out of the house. And so he was living in his car at 17, just barely graduated high school. My parents said, see you later. No job, nothing.
Yeah.
And homeless. And I was like, that's where it is right there.
Yeah.
Like you gave up on him. And so he felt like the world gave up on him. And so he just kept going with it. And they're like, oh.
Like, oh, shit.
I would never, unless they ever listen to this, they'll hear it. But I have never like sat down there and told them because it would probably, hurt their feelings and upset them and say it's all their fault. And it's not all their fault.
No.
He's older now. He's about my age, 35. So he understands what he's doing. But, like you at 18, like anybody at such a critical age still, like to be on your own and no one like guiding you and like cheering you on. It's like, well, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. And it just spirals.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you got out of it.
Well, thank you. I am too.
I thank you so much for coming on and sharing.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. You know how hard it is to get anybody to... And I get it. It's hard to pour out your life and people be like, wow, this person. And it's never like that. It's always like, damn, like there's people going through stuff.
Yeah. And I know, when you'd first approached me about it and I was like, oh, I don't know. And it just, it was an honor to have been asked. And I'm like, does the honor just stop there? I hate public speaking. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I've never done anything like this before.
Yeah.
I'm telling my story. And the more I thought about it, it was, I support breaking the stigma of mental health. And we're not going to be able to do that unless more people are talking about it.
Yeah.
And this gave me an opportunity to tell my story and talk about it, as scary as it was. I'm hoping, you brought this up, if it can touch one person, if it can help one person, that's, I can't even fathom that thought. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And I think about like the one person, the one thing that someone said that helped me.
Yeah. I've had that many times where I heard that one thing at the right time. It's like, oh, got it. Yeah. And I assure you there's going to be some people who reach out and be like, dang, dude, like I've been dealing. You'd be surprised because I've done this before just by myself. And they're like, man, I deal with that too. And like, I don't really want to talk about it because people, it's like, trust me, it's out. Everybody thinks exactly. And it's still weird that we have that stigma. Like, what do people think?
Yeah.
People think I'm weird or this.
Or they're not going to believe me.
Yeah. Yeah, we build it up to crazy things.
We do. But that comes like everything that comes from somewhere, right? Because it's mental health look like padded rooms and straitjackets.
Right. Yeah, like you said, it look like a crazy person, and you're bashing your head against the wall. Unfortunately, there's some folks that it is like that for them, but the majority of us is just, we've been dealing with our whole lives, and then finally somebody spoke up, and now they're going to get help.
Yep.
So, but your story is powerful.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on, and I super appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do it again. Your boyfriend come in here and
it wasn't as scary as I thought it was.
Oh, that's not bad.
I'm probably not going to listen to it or watch it because I hate listening to and watching myself.
I do the same thing.
We'll just put it out there.
I never listen to what I record. I just it's out
like
there.
I don't want any other people that I know to listen to it too. We'll just let the internet hear it.
Yeah. Well, if anything, you could always come back years later and be like, wow, like, look at what I accomplished.
Yeah.
And it's more for, every time I have somebody on, it's more for you. Because you can go back later on like, damn, like, whoa. And that's always the goal.
Yeah.
So, But thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate it, and hopefully we can do another one later on.
Yeah.
Follow up, see how you're doing.
I made it through this one, so I think
it's all right, huh?
We broke that seal. And,
But stay healthy, keep doing what you're doing. By all means, if you need anything, reach out.
Thank you.
Because I know how it is dealing with mental health, and it sounds like you got a good team, and I'm happy for you.
Well, I'm back at you since we share that. I'm here too if you need anything.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll keep you posted. All right, my friend. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Take care of yourself, and always take care of each other. Peace.